so beautiful. Time is what makes it ugly. But time after time and through every turn in this life, I could use some stability.
Hello, welcome back to Bound and Unraveled. My name is Christina, and this week we're kind of going full tilt into the new season and into all of its extremes, and we're going to do spooky books. And this is also my final week in DC, or well, the DMV, which is my hometown. So I'm also going to be saying goodbye to the place that I've called home for the past 20 years while reading these books. Is it a good idea to read books that will scare me and frighten me and potentially give me nightmares when I'm especially emotionally tender? That is still to be seen. And this is a bit of a stretch for me. I have not read a lot of horror because when I've tried, I found that I unfortunately tend to be bored or find the scary parts funny, which are not the intended responses. So we'll see again how this goes. Okay, so the first one is Imaginary Friend by Stephen Chbosky. This is an epic horror novel in which a young boy is haunted by a voice in his head. A single mother, Kate Reese, is on the run, determined to improve the life for her and her 7-year-old son, Christopher. At first, the tight-knit community of Millgrove, Pennsylvania seems like the perfect place to finally settle down. Then, Christopher vanishes. Days later, he emerges from the woods at the edge of town, unharmed but not unchanged. He returns with a voice in his head only he can hear, with a mission only he can complete: build a treehouse in the woods by Christmas, or his mother and everyone in the town will never be the same again. Come be scared with me.
We fly and we fall, but we don't fall apart. Break after break, each piece of my heart. Lovers have come and lovers have gone, but you still feel like right when the whole world feels wrong. They say history repeats itself, but a memory is for the shelf. Well, I replay the moments and years of our lives while I'm praying and hoping there will always be you and
Say something that will make my day, 'cause these memories of her won't go away. They're haunting me so I can't sleep. She was a pretty little liar who cut me deep, 'cause she left me here alone. Now my bed feels just like cobblestone. Oh, why did she go? Oh, was I supposed to know that she'd leave? Was I too naive to think that she'd be the one? Whoa, why did she go? I met her back in 2005. It was her crooked little smile that caught my eye. Time went by and it was her and I. She promised me to never leave my side, but she left me here alone. I know it's dumb, I still check my phone, 'cause I can't move on. Whoa, why did she go?
Hi, it is Thursday, and I just finished Imaginary Friend. It was such a journey. Historically, I've just felt bored or entertained, but not for the right reasons. And so what I did this time is I caught myself in that same pattern of just kind of not being able to take the plot seriously. And so since I am quite a big fantasy reader, I just kind of told myself to think about it as a fantasy that is set kind of in our real world adjacent, and where the magic system is built up of these kind of paranormal, like mystical characters. And that helped a lot for me to be able to actually get into the story and feel some kind of buy-in. For the first 50% of the book, I was really enjoying it. I felt like the pacing was good. I was, again, starting to get invested. I had a sense, I thought, of where things were going, and I was kind of curious to see how it would all play out. Like around the 50% mark, I was like, oh, great, stuff's starting to happen that seems action-y, like maybe we have about 10% left, and instead it just dragged on forever. I struggled to take the book as seriously as it felt like it was taking itself. That's my bad, like that's something I need to continue working on, and again, there's no reason why I should be able to read fantasy that is all apocalyptic and this will be the end of the world as we know it if we don't do blah 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 blah. Why I shouldn't be able to read all of that and care, and not care in a horror setting, but unfortunately that's still how I felt. Those are all my major critiques, now a couple of really small ones. It was odd to me how many times in this book the phrase conflict in the Middle East was brought up. It was always in this very particular kind of like newscaster phrasing, and it just felt weird. I was like, we're set in this little town, why are we talking about conflict in the Middle East? And it wasn't talking about any of like the specific countries. 18 times the Middle East comes up. 18 times. And then the other thing is that the author seems to be making some commentary about seeing women who leave abusive relationships after the first physically violent interaction. He really juxtaposes those women as heroes with women who do not leave those relationships immediately as kind of the flip side of that. I did not appreciate that. Okay, so that was Imaginary Friend by Chbosky. I think it was still a good introduction for me to horror in the sense that the first 50% read quite quote-unquote normally, and then things got way more genre specific, but it was just too long. And so our next book, our second book for this video, will be The Last House on Needle Street by Catriona Ward. And the blurb for Last House says, in a boarded-up house on a dead-end street at the edge of the wild Washington woods lives a family of 3. A teenage girl who isn't allowed outside, not after last time. A man who drinks alone in front of his TV, trying to ignore the gaps in his memory. And a house cat who loves napping and reading the Bible. An unspeakable secret binds them together, but when a new neighbor moves in next door, what is buried out among the birch trees may come back to haunt them all. Okay, and that this is apparently described as the new face of literary dark fiction. We'll see how it goes. Okay, I'll see you at Last House.
Come on, Nana. I went out and tried to cut a pine tree down. Fell through the ground like Alice. Oh, what a sound. This must be a nest. I got rocks and sticks against my chest. I'm Alice. Dear Queen of Hearts, I'ma grow you white roses so you can learn to be kind. Tell King of Hearts to arm all his forces so you can learn to be kind. What a start. Inside out and upside down. No stress, I'ma clean up this mess. Alice, like Alice. First hand me scissors, then bring out the heavy artillery. Oh, Justice is my middle name, I'm Alice. Dear Queen of Hearts, I'ma grow you white roses, so you can learn to be kind. Tell King of Hearts to armor his forces, so you can learn to be kind.
Hello from London. Sorry for what I know is absolutely terrible lighting. I'm still getting settled in. I wasn't able to finish the book in time, nor take the time to edit in my final few days. I just really wanted to focus on getting everything ready and then spending some time with family and friends before leaving. So I skipped a week of posting. I finished The Last House on Needless Street on the plane over. Overall, I'll say that my opinion of this book was changed drastically by the ending, which makes it a little bit tricky to talk about this because I want to give you enough of a review to encourage you to read it without also giving a spoiler. The way that this book treats some genre tropes is really interesting, and the relationship that it has with mental illness in particular is something I haven't really seen before. So if you are reading this book and you start to be really put off by the way that the book is treating some subjects and some characters, I would recommend that you stick with it because chances are you are being put off by similar things to me and you will be potentially surprised and relieved by the ending. Again, I'm really trying hard not to get into details, but also to encourage you. Basically, I think that this author is very aware of genre tropes and kind of turns some of them on their heads and made me as a reader be a little bit aware of the assumptions that I made about certain characters based on the information I was receiving about them. All that said, I mean, it's not like my favorite story ever, but it was short. It was like only, I think, 292-ish pages, like less than 300. Read pretty quickly. And there's one point of view that we get. We get lots of different point of views as we're going. And one of them is from the perspective of a cat, and that character was obviously my favorite. So with that, I'm going to end the video here. Thank you for sharing my final week in DC with me. Washington, DC means so much to me. I have lived there for 20 years. It's where I was raised, where I went to university, where I had my first jobs, have lifelong friends. When people ask me where I'm from, there's so many different ways I can answer, but the truest answer to me feels like saying I'm from Washington, D.C. So it was really special to say goodbye and to get to see people I love so much and say goodbye to some of the places that have really shaped me and touched my heart as well. And I hope we were able to cut some of that emotional tension with some spooky content. And now I'm so excited that I'm here in London and able to get ready and excited about being here and kind of bring you along for that whole experience. So that leads me pretty seamlessly into next week's video, which will be very, very London-y. So I will catch you there. Thanks again for spending the time with me, and I will see you again very soon with the London video. Bye!